So today we'll talk about Microsoft Power Automate. We'll have a quick intro. So Power Automate, as we know, is a rebranded Microsoft UI, Microsoft Flows. So last year, around November, they rebranded it to Power Automate. They added Uiflows, which is an RPA. And as I said yesterday, they have taken over Softomotive or announced the acquisition of Softomotive yesterday, which should add more RPA power to it. So we'll just go over a quick intro and demos, and then we have around 100 questions, as I said. We'll go over that. Hopefully, we can cover most of them today. Our presenter today is Mariano Gomez Bent. He is 12 times, believe it or not, 12 times MVP, most valuable professional for Microsoft business applications. He is a GPUG All-Star, and maybe Mariano, you can tell us what that means. And he has got extensive experience in Microsoft technologies. He is a director of technologies at McCorma Inc. So with that, I would like to hand it over to you, Mariano. The floor is yours. And then once you've done your introduction and demos, we'll get back to questions, and I'll, go through the questions.
Okay, so I'll keep my introduction brief. I think you covered most of it. The only question you had was what the GPUG All-Star means, and it's actually a lifetime award presented to community members that have excelled throughout the years.
Okay.
It's basically for the Microsoft Dynamics GP community. So,
perfect. Great.
I received that a couple of years ago, and really proud of carrying that.
Congratulations. Yeah. That's great. Yeah, and thank you for doing this, Mariano.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So I am going to share my screen. I think, can you just enable that for me? Thank you.
Oh, you cannot share it right now?
And I'm bringing up my agenda for today. And just let me know if you can see my screen.
I can see.
I think, yeah, I'm not going to present this directly. So the agenda is pretty simple. I'm going to go over the Power Automate proposition. So I know there were a lot of questions around that, what Microsoft is doing with Power Automate. I'll tell you exactly what you can do with Power Automate as a user, or even as a pro developer looking to use this tool to enhance your business systems and provide a level of integration that many of you in your questions have seen through UiPath and other tools that you've been using. I'm also going to talk about Uiflows, and in essence, I'm going to give you a rundown from the connector for Power Automate, some of the principles behind Uiflows. I can't tell you how it differs from other tools because I really haven't dived that much into other tools, but I'm sure you guys will find some differences and perhaps similarities.
Yeah, and I'll cover that.
I'm not big on. Yeah. I'm not big on slide decks. I like to show more what the tools can do and how they work live, because I think that's where you get the most bang for your buck when you come to these type of sessions that are rapid fire sessions. So I'll keep the slide deck short. Probably I have 5 more slides besides the agenda, so that should go pretty quick. And then we'll open up the floors for Q&A. Again, thank you, Nadan, for having me here with you guys today. I know this is a slightly different community from the ones that I'm used to, but I appreciate the invite and certainly being with you guys this morning.
Thank you for doing
let's start with what Power Automate can do, and we'll talk about the type of work that you can do. The Power Automate, I want to make sure that you understand is the full platform. Okay, so it contains the UI flow capabilities, it contains the connectors, all these other things. So as a result, it does allow for automation at scale. So you can do things like simple workflows all the way up to business process flows, and those are some of the capabilities that are innate to the platform. Obviously, everything you do is seamless and secure from an integration standpoint. So keep in mind that this is fully integrated with the Azure Active Directory platform for to provide security capabilities to all the automation elements that um, you can create on the platform itself. It's only accelerated. It's a key for accelerating productivity, and the reason why is because there's honestly very little code of any kind that you have to develop here. What I like to call is as the secret sauce to Power Automate, and for that matter, for to the entire Power Platform, is all the connectors and actions that those connectors provide. Um, they truly shield you as a citizen developer and even as a pro developer from the actual development process. And as a pro developer, what you can do is you can focus truly on delivering the functionality in the form of connectors that are needed uh, to accomplish the job within the workflow that you currently have in front of you. And certainly it's an element for intelligent automation because when you look at how the platform is constructed, uh, it takes away all the um, all the mechanics of development, but it also gives you all the ability and all the framework of the entire Azure platform at your hands. So you have access to things like artificial intelligence. That was one of the questions that was in the list that I fielded yesterday. So there's deep integration to Azure artificial intelligence via the cognitive services, AI Builder, form recognition. I know that's a big one for those of you who do OCR or who would like OCR integration capabilities with this platform. That's a big part of it. Things like machine learning capabilities are daily being introduced into this platform. And while those are more in the realm of the AI builder side, just know that that can be fully integrated into your Power Automate flows as a result. Okay, so so Power Automate, as I mentioned before, is designed for everyone, and everyone meaning everybody that is listening on this channel today. If you're an end user, again, the simple fact that you don't have to write code of any kind to do all the building of your workflows and business processes is a big advantage. As I said, for the experienced developer, for the pro developer, the focus is mainly on how you actually leverage those connectors and probably create some extensibility via custom connectors. And for IT and administrators, then there's an entire governance aspect of the Power Platform in general that I'm sure will keep you guys busy. Setting up security, um, administering the users that can access your platform, and how these flows and business process flows get distributed and consumed across the organization is something keen to or close to IT administrators in general. And again, diving a little bit more into the automation platform capabilities for your organization, keep in mind that you can automate across on-premise apps and cloud apps. So this is not only a cloud-based system. Although Power Platform in general, or the platform as a whole, is actually in the cloud, and there's really nothing that you install on your machines. And we'll talk about that a little bit in more details because there's some aspects of it, but the platform as a whole is actually contained in the Azure cloud. But you can interact with your on-premises resources via the on-premise data gateway, and certainly the in the case of Uiflow, you will have the ability to actually record actions that happen on your on-premises apps. Um, so that's one aspect of it. you can actually share flows like you share any other document in the organization. So that's something that, from a security perspective, I'm sure is something that is that most IT administrators will be concerned about. Okay. You also have native integration with your business ecosystem, and how you know we talked about, and that's gonna go hand to hand with the automation across on-prem and cloud applications. But you certainly have the ability to let me shut down Teams here. I think being interrupted here is not good. Okay, sorry for that. So basically, having the ability to have an ecosystem of applications, whether that's through Office 365, whether that's with other type of applications that you have, is certainly one of the strong points of the Microsoft platform in general, Power Platform in general. So you have the ability to work with all the things that you've known before, whether that's Office 365, SharePoint Online, SharePoint on premise, Exchange on premise. Those things don't go away. Um, for the pro dev, there's a full extensibility model that is around and designed around the ability to consume your web services as custom connectors. So if you already have web services that you have designed and created and are truly tested and are functional, you can get those easily integrated into the Power Platform as custom connectors. Okay. You can automate across modern and legacy apps. So don't think that the Power Platform or Power Automate in general is only designed to work with all the modern type of applications. And some of you have noted with the acquisition of Win Automation that that realm of possibilities have only grown exponentially from what the standard platform provided. Data connectivity, that's that it goes without saying, but that's the whole ability of using the connectors in general. But you have access to just about most common databases in the world, Oracle, SAP. You have the ability to certainly work with SQL Server, Azure SQL. Any type of data connector is just about supported under this platform. And as a whole, the platform is built on natively on the Common Data Service. So that means now all in a sudden you have access to everything Dynamics 365 and direct integration to Dynamics 365 and all aspects of it. So finance and operations, customer engagement, um, sales, uh, uh, field services, etc., talent. Those are all applications that are built on top of the common data services. Um, and you get the benefit of that integration. So you have also intelligent automation infused with AI, and I think I talked about that earlier. So not only can you access the native platform, the native Azure AI capabilities, cognitive services directly, but you also have a self-serve AI capability called AI Builder that is actually integrated into the platform. Okay, so again, this only comes to show you that Power Automate uh, bridges the gap between applications that have no API. That's what Uiflows is able to do for you, and certainly modern systems that you are used to. So legacy apps are certainly one of the things that get completely asked every single time I touch on any topic UI flow related, and the capabilities are just getting stronger and stronger by the day. I actually have a word of caution here, because not because you have UI flows, it means you should automatically switch all your integrations to use UI flows. UI flows is very good for systems that don't offer any type of API. So That's something that you need to keep in mind here. All right. We've been talking about Uiflows. So Uiflow or Power Automate in general. So let's see how Power Automate actually introduces RPA to the wider community. And that was the reason for mainly for the change of name. As you said, Nadan, before the the platform was called Microsoft Flow. Now it's being extended to be called Microsoft Automate because it's certainly more than just uh, you know, workflows, which is how the platform started. Now you have all the RPA capabilities via Uiflows, so you can record tasks, you can automate those tasks, and you can execute those tasks. And there's a deep integration between the RPA capabilities because now you can actually do both attended and unattended RPAs. And I think that was one of the questions as well that I had in the list of questions that you provided. But it was pretty one of the things that Microsoft wanted to make sure is that the capabilities that they offer here were very similar to some of their main competitors. So you have the ability to do attended and unattended UI flows. So attended gives you obviously interactive acceleration. It's usually human initiated, and you have to be logged into the application that you wanna have integration with. That one actually went in a public preview on November 4, 2019, so it's been out for quite some time. And now it's actually embedded it's actually GA. So that capability is part of what you'll see today when I show you the UI flow and Power Automate portion, integration portion. And unattended is typically designed for high volume backend processes. It runs automatically and it can log into your system or machine, so long that machine is on, of course. Okay. So as part of that integration between Power Automate or the flow portion and Uiflows, there was a connector introduced into the Power Automate you know platform to allow you to basically execute those UI flows, whether you want to execute them attended or unattended. So we'll see some of that when I get to that portion as well during the demo. And the recording is pretty simple. In reality, there is an applet that sits in your browser. Okay, and that applet is used for triggering the recording. In addition to that, you need to have the on-premises data gateway if you're gonna integrate with applications that run on the desktop. Okay, I think the currently supported platforms are Windows 10, of course, and Windows Server 2019. So you need to have either of those platforms in order to be able to record um, application actions. And once the actions are actually completed, once the recording is completed, you can edit that recording and you can fine tune the actual uh, workflow or the actual UI flow um, to your needs, right? So perhaps you want to speed up some of the actions or introduce new actions. You can edit those workflows at will, and so long you understand a little bit of the workflow language, you can definitely go ahead and add those actions after the fact. Okay, so that's all the slide deck that I had. Really nothing, as I said, sophisticated. So what I wanted to do is now bring to bear some of the capabilities here. And what I want to do here is I have one of my favorite applications. This is Microsoft Dynamics GP. Is a Win32 app, desktop-based, uh, typical client server application that has obviously it's an ERP system. Now, the the idea behind Microsoft Dynamics GP is that although it has a an API, not all the processes are actually exposed via that API. So that's something. But what I want to show you is what you can do with UI flows and how you can automate a simple process. Okay. So for this, I'm gonna go to UI flows or to Power Automate. And one of the things that you want to make sure, the first thing you want to make sure is that UI flows are created within a solution. And why is it important to create a UI flow within a solution? Because the idea here is you want to be able to take advantage of the rest of the platform. And if you're going to deliver things that are or RPA capabilities that integrate with things like AI Builder or even Power Apps on the other side, those applications or those capabilities need to be solution aware. So you want to make sure that your UI flow and your RPAs or your Power Automate actions are actually contained or self-contained within a solution. And to create a solution, all you gotta do is go to the solutions bar and hit new whenever you're ready and set up that new solution. Select a publishing a publisher, and that's it. Really, there's nothing else to it. Once your solution is created, you can then, in this case, my solution is called UI Flow. You can go to new, and then you can add apps or dashboards or entities or environment variables or flows or UI flows and so on. Okay, so you have the full-fledged capability of packaging that from an ALM standpoint and being able to deploy that solution to other environments or publish those customizations however you want. Okay. All right. So enough with that. I'm just gonna hit here, and the first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set up a new UI flow. Okay. Now there's two type of UI flows that you can create. You can create a desktop app. And again, in order for that to happen, you need to have this little applet here, this UI flow applet that was created. That has access to your desktop. Typically, you have to simply authenticate it, make sure that it's fully functional, up and running. So if you're using Chrome, all you gotta do is type, I think, Chrome // extensions, and that will take you to the extensions. If you're using Edge, you must be using the modern Edge. You shouldn't be using the traditional Edge or modern Edge called Chromium, or I'm sorry, yeah, Chromium-based Edge. So that's kind of the only two browsers right now that are supported. So those choices are limited. From a web app perspective, then obviously you have to use either Edge or Google Chrome. That's what's required from that standpoint. Um, the web app capabilities use Selenium, but as many of you noted from the current acquisition of Microsoft, that probably will be soon deprecated because I think most of the capabilities that Selenium bring are still contained in Win Automation as well. So I think Win Automation can automate both desktop and web applications, treats them just about transparently in that way. So the you will see some of these capabilities changing over time with that, and for a more tighter and smoother integration. But the one that I'm going to create today is a desktop app. I'm going to hit next here. By the way, if you're using the Selenium, for those of you who are familiar with Selenium, most of it is expat type, an expat type approach for the recording and for the customization. But that's kind of how that part works. Now, I'm just going to record quickly payables voucher. So I can just type here payables voucher record. And what I'm gonna do next is, the next thing you should do is, it does allow you to set up inputs in order to receive information from, say, Power Automate Flow. And it does allow you to set up outputs, meaning outputs that deliver data back to a Power Automate Flow. So that's key when you're designing your UI flows to decide, am I going to actually send data into that UI flow, or am I going to receive data from that UI flow and consume it elsewhere, say, for example, to continue a cross-system integration or cross-platform integration using Power Automate. So, but in this case, the input variables are the ones that I'm going to pass into Dynamics GP, which is my ERP system when I'm doing my recording. So here I'm going to set up 4 variables or 4 inputs. Let's say I need a vendor ID. Some of you might call it supplier. It doesn't matter depending on your industry, but the concept is the same. And the sample data that I have to that I have to enter here is simply for UI flows to infer the type of data that's going to be passed to the application. And then what I do then is give it a human readable um, description. So this is simply vendor ID. Okay. This particular human readable description is what shows up in Power Automate, for example, when I have to when I have to integrate with the UI flow that I'm creating. So the next thing that I need here is, for example, a batch number. So that's something that Dynamics GP requires. And for this one, I'm just gonna type in UI flow demo, and I'm gonna call this batch number. Okay. The next thing I want is a vendor invoice number, perhaps. And please note the way I treat my inputs versus how I treat my descriptions. That's just the professional developer in me. But you can actually really call these however you want, just so they are clear to you what it is that you're doing. You can basically type however you want. As a citizen developer, you're probably more used to names that have spaces in them or underscores. As a professional developer, we tend not to do those things, but the idea is the same. Okay, so here, 1010 or 1012 or whatever, and I can call this vendor invoice number. Okay. I can add a new input, and certainly whatever it is, I need a purchase amount, right? So that's my purchase amount. And let's say this is just $500 with 23 cents. And this is my purchase amount, or invoice amount, or however you want to call it. Then as part of the next, this is where I can record the steps that I want to present. And hopefully I don't have too many things in the way that are going to keep me from recording this adequately. So let me just close this out and launch the recorder. So the recorder, for those of you who are on the call, the recorder is simply this particular applet that is uh, you know that was installed previously, and this allows me to then begin the recording. So as you can see, I have the ability to record. Once I'm recording, I can use the inputs that I created. You saw those in the previous step. I can also retrieve outputs, and then I can stop the recording. Okay, so I'm just gonna click record here, and I'm gonna pass over now to Dynamics GP, which is the application that I'm targeting for recording purposes. I'm gonna click here on transaction entry. Okay, that basically then opens that window. I'm gonna position myself here on the voucher number field, which is the first field according to my tab sequence. And I'm gonna tab off. I'm gonna tab off again. And I'm just gonna target the fields that I initially selected. So here's my batch ID. I'm gonna click on this field and I'm gonna say use input. And I'm gonna select the batch number and I'm gonna position it here. That should then type that particular field for me. Then I'm here on the vendor ID. I'm gonna say again, use input. and I'm gonna select vendor ID. Then I'm gonna position here, and that's gonna type the vendor ID sample that I created. Then I'm gonna go to document number. Once again, repeat the same operation, use input, and I'm gonna say use the vendor invoice number for that. And I'm gonna click on this field again, and it should populate that particular field with that information. Then now the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tap until I identify the purchase field. And here we're gonna go to the applet again, and I'm gonna say use input, and I'm gonna select the purchase amount and go back to my purchasing field, and that was 500 and with 23 cents. I'm gonna then hit tab. I'm gonna save this, and then I'm going to hopefully close this particular window with all these things in the way. I'm just gonna leave it there because I don't want to mess up anything. So we'll just stop the recording here, and then address this participants window and close this up again. Okay, so you saw a simple recording of a UI flow. Nothing sophisticated, very simple window. We'll see what that looks like now when we go back to Power Automate or the UI flow designer. So here, what this has done is not only does it start the UI flow, but it actually now created a script, an execution script for me. So the first thing that it does is it does allow you to determine whether you need to launch that application or not. Um, for the purpose of this demo, I'm not going to be loading an application back and forth. So I'm just going to show you this portion the way it is. Couple things here is you can control the wait after the action time. So if you want to tighten up the speed of your uh, robotic process automation, you can basically start determining how much the action should wait to complete or to move to the other action. Okay, so that's something that you wanna establish initially from editing these particular fields or these particular actions. Then what I did was, if you notice, I had a left click, and one of the things that I like tremendously about this product is it shows me exactly with a screenshot what action was completed, but I can see also the advanced options within the action. If you're a pro developer and you're trying to
Mariano? Hello? Can people hear me?
Yeah, we are able to hear you, but we
Okay.
lost Mariano.
Oh, okay. Okay. Let's wait for him to come back. Hopefully he can join back soon. I know we're just going about time, so we'll try and cover questions as soon as possible. Uh, or we'll wait and probably cover it. We'll see how that goes. For now, I think Mariano is joining back.
hold on, I'm back. I hope I didn't you guys didn't miss too much.
No,
So
we didn't miss too much. Yes. Thank you,
all
man.
right, I don't know what happened here. I got disconnected from this thing.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Okay. There you go.
All right, sorry about that. I was talking about the what was the last thing in here? Better I should say.
Yeah. No. Perfect. You were here. So yeah.
Okay, so what I was saying is I don't necessarily recommend editing this type of selector, and this might look different for every single application that you target. So unless you have a deep understanding of what this type of language is, or the type of package, or type of interaction that it's creating, I don't necessarily think there's a need to edit this. That's the whole purpose of the recording, right? To shield you from having to change these things after the fact. Okay.
Hey,
So
Mariano, sorry
yep.
to interrupt. Can you check the participants thing and see if there are people trying to get in? I had to give you the host to share, so maybe some people
Okay.
can't
Let me
participate.
see. Admit all.
Yeah, admit all. Yeah, thank you.
Yep. All right. So moving on, that's the action that was created for that, and so on. So you have all the different elements that you saw. The one thing that I want to call your attention to here is the keystrokes that were being recorded. So as you can see, these are basically how you move between the fields, and the type of it's not only keystrokes, but it's also mouse pointer clicks. You can see all those in the interaction that you had with the application. Okay. The other thing is where I inputted text, right? Where I inserted the different elements from the inputs that I had. So as you can see here, this one is the batch number field. So that was typed directly into the batch number field that was here. That's when I positioned myself and selected from the input. Um, and it, that's kind of a general level how these things get recorded. Now, one thing I want to point out from my experience with this is there's no one way of recording um, a particular UI flow. So, and what I mean by that is this will all depend on the type of navigation provided by your app, the technology your application is built on, whether that's WPF, um, traditional Win32. It, that's why the selector is basically irrelevant from an editing perspective, because that the idea is that the tool infers how these things should be treated from an UI element perspective. So there's little interaction with the selector once it's recorded. Okay. Now, the other thing I wanted to point out is at the end of the recording, obviously, I didn't get a chance to add a click to close the window. I could add that action if I want to, but in the interest of time, I'm going to move on from here. Now, if we want to test this out, by the way, here's the outputs. We can actually add outputs. Those outputs can be captured while we're recording. So if I wanted to record some calculation or capture the output of some calculation in that window or any other window that you guys can think of that you're recording on in the particular app that you're recording from, um, maybe I want to pass that on to Power Automate so it can take action in a different application. So I would have conceivably another UI flow that's being called. You can then move data across different applications, different interfaces, different platforms. Okay. Now, since I didn't capture any, I'm just gonna skip. And now you have the ability to test that recording. So I'm gonna go back to GP here, and I'm gonna go to the transaction entry screen and just reset something just so we can retest what we did here. We call this Uiflow demo. I'm just gonna clear this out quickly and add a new batch, and go ahead and hit that here. But conceivably, I could have had a UI flow that records a batch for me as well. So as you can tell, the possibilities are endless. But let's go back to our test screen and hit test now. It's recommended that when you testing these flows, you're basically not, oh, I said I wasn't going to have it launch the app, but the thing about GP oh, this is important to keep in mind. UI flows do not support parameter files. So if you have the need for passing in parameters to the application that needs to be launched, you might be in need of some other way of doing that. But right now is not supported to launch the application. So what I gotta go back here to do, at least not in the version that I'm using, what you gotta go back here to do in this case is I don't want it to launch the application. So I'm going to go back here to this particular thing and turn this off. And then I can go back and hit next. So it's kind of good that that happened because I wanted to make sure that was clear. And in the case of GP, you do need to have a parameter file passed in. So parameter files are not supported. Okay. That's something, by the way, that the team was telling me they're working on. So just so you know. Um, let me save this. And I have one that actually saves the batch, so we can use the same one. But if I test this out, you can see that what it will do then is it will use that same information, and we'll go ahead and see how that works. So hopefully you will see now it switches the context of the app. It clicks on transaction entry. It then positions itself on the voucher number field. Again, those delays, you can cut down on those delays if you want between actions. So your application moves a little faster. Obviously, you don't want to have those type of delays when you have high volume of transactions to be integrated this way. So, but I'm just showing you what is possible here. And it's actually good that it's going at this speed, because otherwise it would be super fast to see. See, like that one got typed a little faster. So perhaps my keystrokes were a little bit more fluid there. Go ahead and fill in the other field, tab off, and so on. So you can see what's going on there. And by the way, I'm not cheating. So my hands are up. So you can see what's playing there. Okay.
Okay, perfect, Mariano.
So
yeah.
the next part that I'm going to show you quickly here is a UI flow that I constructed. I'm sorry, a workflow in Power Automate that I constructed that uses make use of that UI flow. So then again, you get a status on what's not. So if I go back to my flows here, I save this on exit. I can go to my flows, and then you will see here that I'm sorry, that's within the solution. And we have the UI flow demo here. So that's the UI flow solution. This is a simple Power Automate that I created, a simple flow that I created that actually leverages that UI flow. So as you can see here, all it is you have a manual trigger, and that trigger asks for the same inputs that I passed into the application. And then basically I have that UI flow connector that we talked about. You have to authenticate this connector before you can use it. And for those of you who are asking, you can actually select the run mode, whether you want to run it attended or unattended. So that's something that I know came up as a question. And what you do then is you pass in via the dynamic content, you pass in the fields that are being requested from this manual trigger. And let me see if I can hide this window a second, and then I can test this out. And then you will see this running directly from UI flow, from a Power Automate flow. So I wish some of these terms weren't so intertwined. That way your tongue doesn't get, roll on both of them at the same time. So here I'm going to use a different vendor. Okay. I'm going to enter the same UI flow demo. The document number, I'm just going to say that's C766, and the purchase amount is $224. Or, yeah, $224, whatever. At this point, let's see, 600. Yeah. Or whatever, yeah, whatever that is, we'll make it that. Now, if you look over here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just go ahead and close this, and you will see that in action from Power Automate. So I'm just gonna go hit run flow here. The first thing it does is it validates my connection, and it will then basically execute that flow. So kind of the same thing. Now, I know that there were questions about using AI Builder. For that, I'm going to have to refer the group to my YouTube channel. I have a few videos that show the integration between Uiflows, AI Builder, Power Automate and Power Apps. So it's like a end-to-end type you know, situation. And I will really encourage you guys to go to my YouTube channel to take a look at it. While that is finished, what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna bring up Notepad, and I'm going to hit new here, move this over to this window, and my channel is https youtube.com/user/mgomezd1. Okay, so if you want to subscribe to my channel, there's tons of videos and tons of examples. I even have an entire playlist on RPA, so feel free to visit that and take a look at it.
Yeah,
and
that,
more videos coming up pretty soon, because obviously we have Win Automation, so I will want to do a couple of videos showing how to leverage that into the whole Power Automate platform. Okay, with that, thank you very much for listening, and I'm opening the floor for questions.
yeah, thank you, Mariano. And I'll share an email with the resources, including this link to his YouTube channel, which has got, as you said, a lot of videos. That's how I got to understand Mariano is working on this Uiflows space. So let's just get back to questions. So I'm just taking back the host. I'll just share the screen. Share my screen, and then let's pull up the questions quickly here. I know we're kind of, where is the, all right, hope you guys can see the screen, right?
It's coming, yeah, there you go.
Okay, so I'll try and quickly go through things, and Mariano, you can pitch in wherever you see a need, and I'll probably lob some to you too as well. We have 10 minutes, so let's see how many we can get through.
Yeah, so just in the interest of time,
Yeah.
there were a number of questions about Win Automation, UiPath, Power Automate, and the whole strategy, right? So again, it's no secret that Microsoft acquired the company that actually produces Win Automation, and
Automotive.
that shows you the commitment that they have to expanding this tool and actually bring more capabilities to compete with the likes of UiPath and the big guys. So the strategy is clear to me from a roadmap perspective, that they're not only trying to be the leaders in the market, but they're trying to actually become the leader of the market with the different tools that they're building. Now, some of you asked, well, how is it that it benefits the whole strategy to have you know, Power Automate integrated with AI and all these other capabilities? Well, if you look at the entire Power Platform, and as I said before, the secret sauce is in the connectors, but there's also a couple of ancillary supporting products like AI Builder that brings all this self-service AI capabilities to the platform. So if you use Power Automate with, say, form processing, which is one of the videos I have on my channel, in form processing, you can actually train an AI model to recognize a particular form layout. And once it recognizes that form, you can pass that form content or the fields that were recognized onto a UI flow that then executes the integration into, say, a legacy system that is for vendor invoice processing or for customer invoice processing, right? So that's how some of these things are actually gonna be supplemented. What I want you to think is, don't look at Power Automate as just that one tool. Look at the Power Platform as a whole when you're designing your solutions, because the power is not in one tool. Although each tool by itself is powerful, the power is in leveraging the entire platform. So that's why I kind of differ a little bit in the way I am not just a specialist in Power Apps. I'm not just a specialist in Power Automate. I'm not just a specialist in Power BI. I try to be and have a complete, and by the way, Power Virtual Agents, that's something else that that's fairly new. But I try to have a comprehensive view of the platform and what the platform is offering in order to be able to deliver a solution to my customers.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mariano. So let's go through some questions here. One is people asking about the community edition. So I think this is free to sign up, right, Mariano, and people can try it out.
Yes. So like most Microsoft tools, you have the ability to, in this case, go to flow.microsoft.com. And if you're not signed up for it, we will offer you the opportunity to get a trial. Typically, it's a 30-day trial, but what I've found is that for most connectors or for most features that are in preview, you can extend that trial up to even 90 days, sometimes way past the 30-day limit that is initially given to you. So, but yes, you do have quote unquote a community edition of Power Automate that you can get a hold of, which includes, by the way, Uiflows.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
And so many questions about how does it compare with Blue Prism, Automation Anywhere, UiPath. So just wanted to address that. So Blue Prism, Automation Anywhere are pure RPA players and trying to add in the various components right now, and they're calling it hyper automation, for example, in UiPath's case. Power Automate is already a bigger ecosystem, as Mariano was saying. And so the strategies and the way they're playing, I think, would be different. The way Blue Prism, Automation Anywhere approaches the market is through partners. So basically consulting partners like Accenture or EY and everyone. And that's where 95% of the licenses are going. Whereas Microsoft would approach it more in terms of like a cloud provider and getting it from Azure and having the complete ecosystem where you can develop your applications. It offers on-premise automation. It offers attended, unattended. We saw that. Mariano, the environment for developing this one, like a development environment, test environment, that's possible, right, with Power Automate?
Yeah. So obviously, one of the things that you saw is I had to first be in one of the environments. So as a strategy, I do recommend you have a development environment. You have obviously a staging environment, a test environment where you can deploy that for your QA team to test. And certainly you have your production environment. Now, that's why solutions are critical, because solutions is the mechanism that allows you to group all your components, whether those are Power Apps, AI Builder, Uiflows, and certainly Power Automate, and now Power Virtual Agents. But you can actually group those into a solution and then package that solution and upload it or use Azure DevOps to deploy it across different environments. So you do have those capabilities, yes.
Perfect, thank you. One more question from people is about certification. So many people want to go in for certification and things like that. How does it work on the Microsoft world for Power Automate?
Yes, so certifications, let me talk a little bit about the certification part. So one of the things that I did was I personally took the Power Platform Fundamentals, that's MB200, just to see and gauge where I was from a knowledge perspective across the platform. I do suggest you start there. Now, there isn't any specific aspect of the certifications, or there is no dedicated certification to Power Automate or Uiflows for that matter. It all revolves around Dynamics 365. So you're gonna pretty much have to add into your tool set Dynamics 365 a little bit, because if you want to prove your Power Automate capabilities, well, you have to go through the Dynamics 365 path. I think that's going to change down with time, and there will be more dedicated certifications to Power Automate, Power Apps for that matter, all these other tools or a power platform specific certifications. But right now, that's not the case. The only one you have is Power Platform Fundamentals, and for what it for what it for what it's worth, is probably a good way to get started. That's where you are and see and understand what else you need to study.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So I think we're nearing the end of time. So I think we had a good demo. You got a glimpse of what the Power Automate platform can do. That's the current capability. And as Mariano said, with Softomotive, they would have more, or Softomotive Win Automation as well as Process Robot. Win Automation is their RDA, and Process Robot is their RPA, or unattended automation. You would see much more capabilities. The key thing with Microsoft is that it comes with complete capabilities. Like Mariano said, virtual agents, chatbots. You've got the AI builder where you can build AI things, drag drop AI, a lot of these things, low code, no code. And as Satya was saying yesterday, the whole idea is to throw this up open to more developers, or citizen developers, or developers who can do it without much coding. So to see there's not much developers available, and there's so much demand, so that we need more developers who would develop things. So Microsoft has got a much bigger view. RPA was more of a tactical tool for doing like Mariano said, non-API based integration. It's getting into a hyper automation phase. Microsoft already has many of these things, especially very mature AI, and with the OCR and things like that, you can easily build flows. I just wanted to share with you one thing about people asking about pricing, because so per user, it's basically leads with attended RPA. So per user, it is $40 per month, and the Win automation comes with it. It's included, so that's great, because it's an all-inclusive price for the attended RPA. That's $40 per month. And as again Mariano said, you can actually sign up. As I was looking at it, you can get a trial of Win automation, and you can do a part of it. So $40, and then if you want to add unattended RPA, it's again $150 per bot per month. So the pricing is also much cheaper than the existing RPA players. So in that way, that's also a big differentiator. So, and if you want to get started, you can quickly get started on these things by signing up. So I think we are at the top of the hour. Anything else you wanted to add, Mariano, before we go?
No, just get out there and play with it. Really, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
You're not gonna break anything. You have nothing to install and nothing to lose by trying.
Yeah, thank you, Mariano. And also, I would recommend Mariano's channel. I think his is one of the best channels for following Uiflows and Microsoft. In fact, I even have a link on my blog, but I'll send you the links and the resources so that you can get started. So that's it for today's session. Thank you, Mariano, for doing this for all of us. Thank you all.
Everyone.
Thank you all for attending. This session is recorded, so we'll put it on YouTube. And so please sharing that. Please visit Mariano's channel. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.